Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Green Lanterns Podcast. And today I have a special episode for you. This is the second annual GL June. And the idea behind it is that different Green Lantern podcasts in the community come together. As you can see on the screen here, we're going to cover 5 issues. And even though these are spread through different comic stories from the New Titans, Green Lantern, the Darkstars, Damage, and then again, the New Titans, these 5 specific comments tell the siege of Charam. Again, we are going to link to the Emerald Echo podcast covering issue 124 of the New Titans. Green Lantern Volume 3, issue 65 will be covered by the podcast of OA. Darkstars issue 34 will be covered by Mosaic Comics. Getting information out of the way about this issue, it is 22 pages long. It was released on July 11th, 1995. It was written by Tom Joyner, penciled by Jason Armstrong, with covers by Don Hillsman and Bill Merriman, and it was inked by Jordy Ensign and Phyllis Novin. Over the first few pages, we have Kyle Rayner and Damage together in what starts off as a more peaceful, quiet time. Damage says it's hard to believe that the survival of the whole galaxy depends on this weird plant. Kyle further down says, "Look, Damage, we got sucked into a wormhole near Jupiter, ended up on the other side of the universe, met a slew of alien races, one of which wants us dead, and you still want more?" And Damage is like, well, yeah. And he doesn't want to tell this to Kyle, but he's happy that the alien race has shown up because they're in a dangerous place, fighting dangerous enemies. These enemies are not scared of him, and he doesn't feel like he has to hold back against them. They get into a scuffle with the progenitors where their ships are flying around attacking them. They're trying to figure out how to work as a team. It seems like they have opposite ideas of what is the best strategy to use going forward against them. Damage is looking to inflict damage, where Kyle's looking to be a little bit more on the defensive. Kyle throws up a shield to block some of their attacks, and immediately Damage is like, drop the shield. And when Kyle explains that the reason he's got the shield up is to prevent them from hitting them with their particle cannons, Damage throws out an attack and immediately destroys it, and he's like, what particle cannons? Kyle tries again and again to get them to work together and stick together, but it's very clear that Damage has his own ideas, and he wants to be able to just attack and go all out and not have to hold back because he doesn't get opportunities like this all the time. So Kyle has to suck it up, and he decides that if he's going to do his own thing, then I'm more or less going to have to do my own thing for the betterment of the group. As Kyle throws a rocket onto his back through his constructs, he says, I'm going to need some distance, and he takes off. And as he takes off, Damage notices it, and he's like, hey, where you going? But it's too late. At this point, Kyle's going his own way, Damage is going his own. While Damage is holding on to one of the ships, it crash lands. We leave Damage and Kyle, and we skip ahead to a scene where it's explained that there's a planet called Dokar where 9/10 of it is covered by water. We join a couple of these characters underwater. They more or less look like walrus humanoid type characters. They explain that they are in a place called the Choker's Nest, and that there is a prehistoric virus that is locked inside to the killing salts of the sea. They go over how they've been able to conceal this area, and they start wondering about their sleek Pelt friend. They even go on to say that Pelts can be deceiving. She is an off-worlder. And that's when we get the first appearance in this issue of Supergirl, who says, so am I. But I guess that was obvious. The crystals that are down here, they're vital to the war effort against the progenitors. Then we see another character who tells her that I think there's more to it than that, Supergirl. These people aren't all criminals. I sense that much. That character that's there at the bottom right of the screen, her name is Mirage. Supergirl then questions Churkle and this other group of criminals / are they not criminals? She asks, is what Mirage says is true? Churkle and gang reply back, this place is Choker's Nest because the first exiles banished here were of the Honorable Guild of Assassins. We are their descendants, but we have committed no crimes. They just want to be able to go back to land and be a part of their society once again. Supergirl takes the crystal and promises Churkle that once the war is over with the Charam, that the council will look into this injustice and see if she can get them reunited with their society. Next, we go back to Earth where we get a panel where we are in a building back in Georgia. There's a hand holding a picture that says Teen Terror, is Atlantis safe? And you can see on the picture that this is Damage. It's revealed that the character holding this picture is Bounty, and he's talking to a man named Mr. Darrow who's offering 10 G please if Bounty can bring him in. Bounty suggests he really only has one reservation, which is that all the training in the world he can put himself through doesn't really put him in the same league as some kid who can blow up entire city blocks. And that's when Mr. Darrow says, that's why I had my lab boys devise an equalizer. And you see an ominous looking suitcase in the panel. He shoos him off and tells him he better go before my daughter Megan gets home. And he says, all right, Mr. D, keep your check writing hand warmed up, because Bounty's the quicker picker up. What Mr. Darrow doesn't realize, though, is that Megan is sort of around the corner hiding behind a bush. And immediately she reacts with, oh no, Daddy, what are you doing? I have to warn Grant. And Grant, if I didn't share this earlier, is the name of Damage. And speaking of Damage, we finally return to him, where he has now crash landed on the planet. He said he's lucky because it could have been worse if he didn't figure out that the knobby thing was steering like a joystick. To give a sense of how hard he hit the ground, he's thinking to himself, and he's like, I was home? Free? Where? Oh yeah, alien world. Big war, secret weapon, component, and he's kind of like going down the checklist of all the things that he needs to remember here. As he's thinking to himself, this gray-green, clayish looking creature walks up to him. What's said between the two is basically gibberish, and he's getting threatened to be hit with a stick, and that's at the same time that Damage is able to fix the translator communicator, so he saves himself just in the nick of time before he gets hit. As soon as the communicator is fixed, there's a little awkward moment between the two, where the creature is like, I don't understand why you're not trying to kill me. And Damage is like, actually, I need your help to find this plant. As he's asking for assistance, that's when we realize that the translator definitely isn't working perfectly because some of the words are still getting lost in translation. He's trying to ask for help, and the creature's like, I can't go there, my something won't let me. Damage points up to the sky at that point and shows these yellow-looking stars up in the sky, and tells this creature that the progenitors are coming to the world to destroy it. Next, we move to the planet of Tutanal, which is a planet of stark climate contrast. And here we get to meet up with Arsenal, who's in a spacesuit. Arsenal is on the hunt for an ore vein, but his position is currently saying that he's, a few yards off and he needs to get readjusted. Arsenal notes that the council said that the region of the planet that he's on at the moment is supposed to be unstable all the time, but he feels like it's getting even worse since he arrived. Arsenal and Jairus advance through the rocks, and as they break through, they know that it's not a moment too soon because things are starting to pop up here, and it looks like there's about to be an eruption or a fiery explosion. And that fear is confirmed in the bottom panel of that page where they say a liquefaction of the substrata. This chamber will soon be consumed by a magma swirl. As the magma swirl is starting to really cook up, as the magma swirl really starts to swell, Jairus tells Arsenal to grab on, and I will encase you inside my Omegadrome as we leave the atmosphere. As he's doing this, he asks him, did you get the ore? And he's like, yes, we did. On the next panel, it transitions to a super secret collider facility in northern China. It appears that there's some scientists around him. The female scientist towards the front asks, what's happening? This is not what we expected. The person behind him says, Dr. Kwan, stop this now. He tells him, I'm afraid that's impossible, General. The proton-anti-proton contact was instantaneous. We're now experiencing the result of that collision. The female then notes that the Cronin count is off the scale. And in the big bottom panel, it says, look. And in the middle of it, it appears that something is porting in. To which Dr. Kwan says, yes, yes, welcome home. As we move on back towards Damage and the gray alien creature, that creature notes to Damage that their name is Koba Nak. And they basically tell Damage that you can refer to me as Koba. As they're walking through water and collecting samples, something comes out of the water and snatches up Koba Nak. Just a moment later, the same thing snatches up Damage. It's like these green leafy tentacles. Picture the Watcher in the Water from Lord of the Rings. Damage goes on to say, I wanted Triffids, I got Triffids, which just goes to show you gotta be careful what you wish for. And then he warns Koba Nak to hang loose because he's about to break them free. As is fairly common with Damage at this point in this comic, he's not always thinking far ahead or multiple steps ahead, because as he breaks free, both he and Koba just start plummeting to the surface of this planet. Now, as they come crashing down, it is the greatest Green Lantern of all time, Kyle Rayner, who swoops in and creates a construct to catch them and save them. As Damage and Kyle look at each other, Damage is like, hey, I did all right on my own. I got down, didn't I? And Kyle's like, yeah, but like, maybe next time, let's do it the easy way. And now that they're together and they have the samples that they need, it looks like we're getting the happy ending of this part of the storyline. Damage notes to Koba, it's been nice working with you, and you're a nice alien, you got a great personality. And Koba looks back at Damage and was like, I too, Damage, to basically say, I really liked working with you as well. And as they're talking, Koba puts a flower in Damage's hand. Kyle's like, nice flower. And Damage is like, yeah, it's... And Kyle cuts him off and he says, she seems like a nice girl. And Damage is like, girl? He's a little bit taken back that he's been basically macked on towards the end by this alien creature, Koba. Over the last couple of pages left in the comic, the team arrives back to the council. When they get there, they're asking the counselor if they can have more details about the thing that they are basically assembling with all the components that they've just gathered. The team just wants to make sure that this weapon that they're making isn't going to be worse than what the progenitors are, basically. As they start thinking and going over what all of the components added up is going to make, it becomes very clear to the team, in a shocking revelation, that if this weapon works, this generation of the progenitors will be the last, because this will be a genocide. And after the shocking conclusion of what they have potentially just put together, at the bottom it says, to be concluded in New Titans 125. Which will be out in a video from LanternCast after this video drops at some point. Thank you guys for tuning in. This is my portion of GL June. I covered Damage number 16. If you want to know what happened before this comic, again, the links will be in the description for the 3 videos that came out before this one. And if you want to know how this concludes, once the video is live from LanternCast, I'll have that link in the description as well. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll catch you on the next one.